It is the Universal Century 0153. 30 years have passed since Gundam F91. The Earth Federation has become weak, and a new threat, known as the Zanskar Empire, has come to power, and holds on to such power through its use of the guillotine. With its military forces invading Earth, and its space fleets preparing to control the other sides, it seems that the Zanskar Empire is in total control. The fate of Earth and space now depends on a resistance group known as the Ligue Militaire, who relies on young pilots and state-of-the-art mobile suits to fight against the Zanskar Empire. During a battle between the two factions in Europe, a 13-year-old illegal immigrant named Uso Iwin gets dragged into the war and becomes a pilot of the Victory Gundam, which serves as a symbol of freedom for the Ligue Militaire. Throughout the series, Uso will help fight off the Zanskar Empire along with the Ligue Militaire, while also discovering the horrors that war brings to the world. The story begins in a very odd way. The first episode is actually episode 4, and then the next 3 episodes afterwards shows us everything that led up to that point. There is a reason for this screwy start. Around this time, Bandai bought the rights to Gundam, as well as Sunrise, and needless to say, Tomino absolutely hated it. The reason why episode 4 was aired first was so Bandai can show off the Gundam from the start to increase model sales, a tactic that was rather devious to me. Victory is the farthest entry in the Universal Century, not counting G's Savior, and as such, it's more or less a spin-off since it barely has any connections to the Gundam productions of the past. Now, you would think that would make Victory easier to get into, but it doesn't, due to how extremely dark and gloomy it actually is. You see, during this time, Tomino was suffering from depression, and as such, Victory Gundam is considered one of the darkest Gundam shows ever, even more so than Zeta Gundam. This is mostly due to the fact that most of the main characters here are children, and there are a lot of really brutal deaths as well. In fact, death is such a major thing in Victory Gundam that even some of the previews to the next episode flat out shows us who dies next. It's not all depressing though, for there is some comedy in the show. I thought the comedy was alright. Sometimes it works, other times it was stupid and illogical. Victory Gundam is also the longest running Central Gundam show, with a total of 51 episodes. So as far as the pacing goes, well, it's decent in the first half, becomes very slow in the middle, and picks up steam by the end. Honestly, the pacing was rather slow for most of the series. If it had a few less episodes, it would be much faster. As for the elements within the story, I really liked most of them. Of course, I can't go into any detail why without spoiling. As far as the characters go, I liked most of them. Uso is a really good protagonist in my eyes. It's worth noting that Uso is the youngest Gundam pilot in the franchise alongside Kyo from Gundam Age. Though his level of maturity says otherwise, he develops into a really compelling character who struggles to prevent the death of his friends and comrades, but can never keep people from dying no matter how hard he tries. He's also a really skilled pilot, so skilled that rumor has it that he was the great-grandson of Char Aznable, although Tomino denies this. I also thought that some of Uso's friends were likable characters. In fact, most of the light-hearted moments in the show revolved around them. Then we have Shakti, who I thought was alright in the beginning, but once she started reaching Relina and Lacus levels of annoyance, I started disliking her. Not to mention that she gets herself kidnapped a lot by the Zanskar Empire. Why do they want to kidnap her all the time? Well, I can't tell you that because it's another major spoiler. Then we have the Strike Team, who I gotta say are one of the most pathetic mobile suit teams in Gundam. I mean, the Ligue Militaire builds them up to be this elite team of kick-ass female pilots. But as we will quickly realize, most of them do not live up to their hype as ace pilots. Some of them do, but most of them don't. On the other side of the coin, we have the Zanskar Empire, who I consider to be just as ruthless as Zeon or the Crossbone Vanguard, but there are characters in the faction who aren't totally crazy, like Chronicle Asher, who is the Char clone of the series. All in all, I thought the story of Victory Gundam was above average. I really did like it. It may not be perfect, but entertaining nonetheless, despite how dark the tone was. For a show made in the early 90s, I thought Victory Gundam looked great. It was very well animated, but sometimes I feel that the visuals kinda lacked in detail. The character designs were alright. As for the mech designs, well, I'm not a big fan of them. The League Militaire designs were pretty cool. I liked the Victory Gundam and the V2, but those Gun-Easies looked rather dull to me. The mobile suits of the Zanskar Empire are a lot more exotic in design, but I feel that most of them are either unappealing or just too weird to describe. But I give them credit for the originality of the mobile suit designs. The background music is very dramatic and fits the harsh tone of the series. In contrast, the opening and ending themes are very lighthearted and are some of my favorite Gundam songs. They aren't fitting for the show, but pretty kick-ass. The seiyus did a pretty good job here. Uso is voiced by Daisuke Sakaguchi. Outside of Gundam, he is known for voicing Sunohara from Clannad. Tomokazu Seki voices Tomache, and he would voice Domon a year later in G Gundam. Kumiko Watanabe voices Katajina, and she would go on to voice Shippo from Inuyasha, as well as Carol from Tales of Vesperia. So the voice acting is pretty good overall. However, if there is one seiyu I cannot stand, it's Satomi Korogi. Why? Well, she voiced Carlman, that goddamn baby who virtually cries in almost every single episode he's in. And it's one of the most annoying sounds I've ever heard in my life. And keep in mind, folks, Victory has 51 episodes, and this little devil is featured in the majority of them. Motherfuck! Sorry about that. Continuing on. Overall, Victory Gundam is just one of those shows that you will either like or you will hate. I'm going more towards I like it. I think Victory Gundam has enough elements to keep me interested all the way to the end, even if there is some bumps in the road. It's a shame that both Bandai and Tomino despise this show so much. In fact, it is said that Tomino flat out told consumers on the back of the DVDs that you're an idiot for buying this. I don't see why they hate it so much. I think Victory was a good Gundam show, but it does have its flaws. It felt draggy in the middle, the visuals lacked detail at times, and some of the characters weren't that good. But all in all, it was a good show. If it weren't for the dark nature, then I would recommend this show to most Gundam fans who want to get into lesser known Gundam shows. After Victory Gundam was completed, Tomino would be fired from the team, and Victory Gundam would be the final full-length UC show. And for what it was, I thought it was a decent ending to an awesome timeline. Final score, 7 out of 10.
We